Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and my enemies. I am delighted to be here. I'm eager to share with you all the thoughts that are on my mind. I'd like to welcome all to Why. Here, we will discuss many of the topics that are hidden in plain sight. I seek not to convert anyone. I have nothing to sell. I'm not here to preach to egos. I am here to simply oppose the question, and that question I must oppose is why? Why haven't you? I was asked a very interesting question about fornication. I was asked to explain why fornication is sin or sex and not being married is sinful. Now, before you begin to judge, go back and do your own research. So, my first response was a question. I asked the individual who told you that fornication was a sin. Someone has guided your mind and you have not been able to think for yourself. The second question I asked was, where did the alphabetical system that we use today come from? These are paramount in our understanding. We Westerners are completely lost in the descriptive language enclosed inside of the Bible or just in our everyday use. Even worse, we are afraid to be wrong in understanding what we think we know. This is a shame. Let's talk about how Parliament speaks out about how you have to be married before you live with someone or sleep with someone. So, say you're doing just that, and Christianity pulls out that big old famous word, that word fornication. Now, ask yourself, did that word come from a God consciousness or did it come from a system of control, European colonialism? It did not come from African spirituality. It did not come from ancestral wisdom. Do allow me to explain myself. Fornication. The word fornication is a Latin word, and the Latin term comes from the word fornix, meaning orch or brothel. In the time of Rome, sex was criminalized. This was done not for morality. This was done for legal ownership and inheritance. Again, I'll explain myself some more. Women were property, and marriage was a contract between men. So when one quotes fornication from the biblical view, my dear friend, what you are doing is that you are quoting and standing square inside of Roman law, not God. Marriage in biblical intention is not what you think. It was not walking down the aisle in a white dress. Marriage was an arranged contract by parents that involved payments. A bride price or a dowry. Often include multiple wives, sometimes slaves, concubines, were also a part of the contract. See, if you are using the Bible to define moral love or morality, if you want to use that word, you are already off track. Before Christianity or colonization, our ancestors kept things in balance with the universe. There was no government or control in pre colonial African cultures. The union was based on family recognition, not papers or certificates. Sexuality was natural, it wasn't shameful nor sinful. The very concept of sin does not even exist. That's a taught behavior through a system of control. Sex was divine energy, a harmony, a frequency, and a responsibility. The family was built upon tribal villages' values, not till death do us part contracts. Marriages today are arranged contracts with your state government. There was no fornication because the rule of measurement was not the European lens. Christianity made sex a sin and marriage became a cage. Once the colonizers came with their Bible and their Christianity, they shamed sex, they elevated virginity, and made natural unions a crime. The church and government use marriage to police behavior, especially for women. The church only cared about property rights, patriarchal order, and submission. So when religion, church, or government, all of it is parliament, says you need to be married before you experience the natural. This is what they are truly saying without saying what they're saying. What they are really saying to you is this: you need to follow a system that came from slavery, Roman law, and patriarchy. It did not come from the spirit. It did not come from truth. It did not come from freedom. It did not come from the universe. The ancestors did not need a license to love. They needed respect, balance, and tribal bigotry. So please, let us call it for what it is. It's not fornication. It is a colonized mindset of control wrapped inside a storybook called the Bible. And until there's an awareness, there can be no consensus to make correction.